Welcome to BizVote 2021, the Brampton Board of Trade's debates for the upcoming federal election. Ladies and gentlemen, we know how busy you are in your job, and we want to save you time, but also we want you to make informed choices for the upcoming election. What we've done on your behalf is invited 4 parties that are currently in the House of Commons in all 5 ridings in Brampton to debate the business issues. Those issues could be everything from exiting the pandemic to transit, transportation, childcare, environment. We've assembled a group of business leaders to ask the important questions so that you can see and hear the responses from candidates running in this election. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being part of the Brampton Board of Trade. We're here to advocate on your behalf, to bring you programs like this, to connect you with suppliers and customers, and to encourage you and your people to be the best they can be. Together, we are stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, to learn more about the Brampton Board of Trade, please visit bramptonbot.com. Enjoy the debates. Trade, and I'm delighted to welcome you to BizVote 2021, the riding debates for the upcoming 2021 federal election. Today, we are hosting candidates from all 5 ridings in Brampton, and we're kicking off discussion today with the candidates from Brampton Centre. In the tradition of hosting and organized, informative, and impactful debates, today's discussion will focus on the key business issues that are important to you, Brampton Board of Trade members. With over 2,000 voting members that employ more than 60,000 in Brampton, our Board of Trade takes great care of our business community in connecting them, encouraging them, and advocating on your behalf, highlighting the issues that impact your business success and local growth and prosperity. Today's debates will focus on specific questions that have been identified by business leaders and will provide the opportunity for guests viewing today to learn more and make more informed decisions in the upcoming election, which is on September 20th, 2021. Without any further ado, I'm happy to introduce the business panel who will be posing questions to the candidates. Please allow me to introduce Lou Valukas. He is a director with the Brampton Board of Trade and a lawyer with Lawrence Stevenson LLP. Also joining us today is the chair of the Brampton Board of Trade, Michelle McCollum. In addition to being the chair of the Brampton Board of Trade, she is the associate vice president for capital development and facilities management at Sheridan College. Welcome. Our format for today's session is as follows. Each candidate will get a 2-minute opening statement. After that, a series of questions will be posed from our business panel, myself and other business members that have pre-recorded questions. For each question, 1 candidate will be selected to give a 90-second response, and all other candidates will be offered the opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal. At the end of our allotted debate time, all candidates will have a 90-second closing statement. At my discretion as moderator, I have been given the authority to allow for additional rebuttals or longer speaking times dependent upon the topic. We're here to represent the issues that are most important to the business community. In the interest of time, though, candidates exceeding the allocated time will be asked to conclude so that we can cover the key topics of importance to the business community. I now would like to introduce you to the candidates from Brampton Centre. Please join me in welcoming from the Conservative Party of Canada, Jagdeep Singh. Representing the Liberal Party of Canada, Shafkat Ali. And representing the New Democratic Party, Jim McDowell. Invitations were extended to nominated candidates from parties that are currently represented in the House of Commons, as is our policy. While we would have been happy to invite the Green Party, unfortunately, they were unable to field a candidate in the Brampton Centre riding. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to start our debate with the introductory comments, starting with Mr. Jagdeep Singh, representing the Conservative Party of Canada. Mr. Singh?
Thank you very much. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. It is an honor to be present at today's debate, and thank you for organizing it, and to represent Brampton Centre. Now, Brampton Centre has not and will not get its fair share under a Liberal government. It's that simple. When Justin Trudeau was elected Prime Minister in October 2015, Brampton got 5 Liberal MPs, Ontario had a Liberal government, and Brampton had a mayor who was a former Liberal minister. Over the 4 years that followed, Brampton received a mere $42 million in federal infrastructure investment, a sum that is only 4.3% of the cumulative funding of almost $1 billion that we should have received. Imagine if you were supposed to get $100,000, but only received $4,000, how bad would that be for your business? My Brampton is the second fastest growing city in Canada. It is one of Canada's youngest cities with a young multicultural workforce that comes from 234 different cultures, speaking 115 different languages. As of December 2020, Brampton had over 78,000 diverse businesses, including being home to CN's largest intermodal railway terminal in Canada. As per the City of Brampton's federal pre-budget submission, Brampton transit ridership was higher than York Region, London, and Hamilton combined, but it is receiving less funding through the public transit stream of ICIP. This election is a choice of between a comprehensive Conservative plan to deliver jobs and restore public finances versus reckless Liberals supported by NDP that will leave Canada with high levels of debt and unemployment. When you vote for me, Jagdeep Singh, I will ensure that Brampton remains a focus, and I will work relentlessly on jobs, wages, and getting our economy and finances back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Next for opening remarks is Mr. Shafkat Ali, representing the Liberal Party of Canada. Mr. Ali?
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Board of Trade, Brampton Board of Trade, for putting this together. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Shafkat Ali. I'm the candidate for Brampton Centre for the Liberal Party of Canada. You know, I'm proud of our government handling the COVID-19, which is a global crisis we have never seen in our lifetime in a century. You know, can you imagine that with that devastating emergency, which we had a life and death situation, and our businesses were shut down, we were in the lockdown, we had fears, we didn't know what's going to happen, and no one saw it's coming. And you know, our federal government, Liberal government, has taken the measures to support Canadians, to support our businesses, to support our businesses here, right here in Brampton Centre. You know, with that support, we are on the road of recovery. Can you imagine without that support how that Queen Street would have looked like? How would it have that Main Street would look like?
Please conclude, Mr. Ali.
Yes.
Please conclude. Thank you for your 90 seconds. Introductory remarks. The next introductory remarks are from Mr. McDowell. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ali. You actually have 2 minutes. Forgive me for interrupting you. Please continue. I'll reset the clock.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So my point is the way our federal government handled that pandemic and managed, and then they came out to support our businesses, kept our job, you know, and maintained the health and safety of Canadians and Bramptonians. You know, now we're almost there, but the fight is not done yet. We have not finished the fight with COVID. We still need to move forward to take Canada a better and a moving forward as a prosperous Canada. we cannot let conservative take Canada backward, where they believe in services, cut in the services, and take Canada backward. So therefore, I'm urging all of residents in Brampton Center
Please
to
conclude.
please vote for Liberal Party so we can move forward for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Ali, for your introductory remarks, and my apologies again for the interruption.
No
Mr. McDowell, representing the New Democratic Party of Canada, James McDowell, your introductory comments, please. Oh, Mr. McDowell, you're currently on mute. There you go.
I just want to say thank you to the Board of Trade for allowing me and my two other people to actually speak on these very, very important matters, because we all know how important the issue of COVID has been on Brampton. But also to let you know, I have lived, I have raised a family in Brampton for 20 years. I'm also the past chair of the Brampton Health. So healthcare is extremely important to me, and I have been fighting for healthcare in Brampton for more than 2 years. But on September 20th, a choice between parties that have broken one promise after another time again, or voting for Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, who are fighting for you. On September 20th, you have a better choice. And let me tell you why. In every corner of the country, families are working many, many jobs to keep their families employed. The health of our loved ones, the climate crisis, and the public services that everyone counts on are in jeopardy. The past 18 months have shown that Canadians can confront any challenge we have to when we choose to and when we come together. It has also shown us that thanks to the decisions of the Liberals and Conservative governments, many of the supports that we rely on just weren't there when we needed them. If we want to make a difference, we need to make a different choice. What we need now is the courage to act together. And that is exactly what New Democrats offer to Canadians. We can make life more affordable for everyone by investing in healthcare, affordable housing, pharmacare, and childcare, and small businesses in our communities. We can build an economy that works better for than just the rich. Affordable healthcare, affordable childcare, we need it now. And making employment insurance work for you, ensuring more accessible job training and lifelong learning for all.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our questions from business panelist Lou Valukas. I understand that his question will be posed to Mr. McDowell for response, a 90-second response, and each of the other candidates will have a 30-second rebuttal. Mr. Valukas, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Todd. Welcome to all the candidates. Thank you for being here. Jim, how has the innovation economy impacted your own life and career? And if you're successful in this election, what will you do to support its growth as a member of parliament?
I currently work for Chrysler in Brampton. We've been seeing some very interesting things during the pandemic. One of them is the shortage of computer chips. The reason why that's so important is that we must put our R&D resources behind new technologies, more specifically green technologies. We must be able to move forward with new technologies, because if we don't, I don't know what's going to be happening with our economy. For instance, in the US, and it's going to be reflected in Canada, that transportation with the autonomous vehicles and autonomous trucking will impact over 16 million jobs in the US. That will also be reflected in Canada. So we need to develop green technologies in Canada, because we must also move away from fossil fuels. If we don't, our economy is in jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. For rebuttal, I go first to Shafkat Ali. Mr. Ali, would you like to answer this question or rebut the answer? Oh, you're on mute, sir. There you go.
Okay. Thank you for the question. You know, our government, I'm really proud of our government's plan on climate change, which has green tech jobs. You know, a green tech environment and, you know, like to start with, in Brampton, our government has funded that that plan is already in place, that electric buses right here in Brampton, which is a second city after Ottawa who has received funding for the electric buses, which will create jobs and you know, clean air.
Thank you, Mr. Ali, for that. And Jagdeep Singh, you'd like to respond to this question or rebut the answer?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I can't believe that, you know, Mr. Ali was talking about the track record of Trudeau Liberals and pandemic. It's been a complete failure. Under the Erin O'Toole leadership and Conservative plan, when you vote for me, Jagdeep Singh in Brampton Centre, we will unleash Canadian innovation. We will be the world's most talented workforce. Canada has so many advantages that should make our country the best place on earth to launch and grow innovative products and businesses, and some of them right here in Brampton.
Super. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh. We'll move to our next question, and this will be posed from Michelle McCollum, Chair of the Brampton Board of Trade and AVP for facilities at Sheridan College. This question is to Mr. Ali. 90-second response with 30-second rebuttals from the other two candidates. Please proceed, Michelle.
Thanks so much, Todd. A very good morning. So Shafkat, Brampton is a net exporter of jobs, meaning every day more people leave Brampton to work elsewhere than come to work in Brampton. If you're elected the local representative of Brampton Centre, what will you do to narrow that gap?
Thank you for the question, Michelle. Again, you know, Liberal plan includes more funding for healthcare and specifically funding for 7,500 more doctors and nurses. And, you know, I agree with Mayor Brown that we need another hospital here, and, you know, Brampton should have its own university. You know, and then the students, our government bringing that plan to take off the interest for 2 years from the students. So that is the vision our government have to Liberal platform has to move Canada forward, unlike other two cuts to take Canada backward.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. And first to rebut will be Mr. McDowell. 30 seconds, please, sir.
The Liberals have had 6 years to move on this. They have done nothing. When you look what's happened with the light rail transit in Brampton, it stops at Steeles. For any type of major investment in our community, we must have mass transit. And the Liberals have done nothing in regards to making sure that Brampton has mass transit. Each light rail transit train removes 1,000 cars from our streets. The reason why that's so important is because businesses are not willing to invest huge amounts of money unless their employees can be living in the same communities as they're working. When we see this, we keep on asking the Liberal government and also the Conservative government in Brampton and also at the province and also in the federal government to work together to make sure that Bramptonians get what they need, the investment that they need to make this wonderful city even more wonderful.
Thank you.
So
Mr.
we must
McDowell.
work together.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. I appreciate that very much. And rebuttal now on the question of net exporter of jobs and what can we do to ensure that we narrow the gap and create more jobs in Brampton. Mr. Singh, you'd like to respond?
Yes, please. Under the Liberal government, the economy has shrunk, as we've seen in the last quarter. It has not met the analyst expectations, according to Stats Canada. Liberals are not just able to do the job as their 6-year track record shows. In Brampton, to be the net exporter of jobs, we want to narrow the gap by creating projects like Riverwalk Construction, which will add $256 million to the Canadian economy and creating 2,200 full-time jobs. We need transit. We need to increase jobs in Brampton downtown core, and Canada's Conservative have the plan right out of the gate with things like GST holiday in December, where local residents will be encouraged to go to their local businesses and buy and promote the Main Street businesses here, right here in Brampton Center.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next question comes from our business community. It is a pre-recorded question, and it will be directed at Mr. Singh. Please, Terry, roll the tape.
I'm Steve Stevens with RioCan, also a director with the Brampton Board of Trade. The federal government recently took over the environmental assessment process for the proposed GTA West Corridor, also known as Highway 413. Brampton Board of Trade believes this is a critical infrastructure project to more efficiently move people and goods across our region. The federal intervention will most likely slow down the process. Do you believe the federal intervention in this instance was appropriate?
Mr. Singh?
Provinces, we respect the jurisdiction of provinces, and we want to make sure that provinces do what's best for them. I know that under the Conservative government, we will be investing heavily in infrastructure. We will not see what the Trudeau Liberals have done over the 2015 to 2019 period, when they have had a majority government in Canada and 5 Liberal MPs from Brampton, the entire city of Brampton. $972 million is what we were supposed to receive, and we only received $42 million. Infrastructure is the backbone of our economy, and infrastructure will get people moving. Brampton alone needs $850 million for our transit services, and we will make sure under the Canada's recovery plan to make significant investments in infrastructure to create jobs and get the economy moving. A modern Canada needs modern infrastructure. That means connecting all Canadians with high-speed internet and building necessary transit and roads to keep people and goods moving. Instead of building infrastructure needed for growing communities across Canada, the Trudeau Liberals government sat on billions of unspent infrastructure dollars and waited months to set up as a full funding partner for nationally significant projects. A Conservative government will immediately get shovels in the ground on projects, including transit, road, rail, and broadband projects.
Thank you.
Job creation and infrastructure is front and foremost on our plan.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Appreciate that response. So for rebuttal, we're going to Mr. McDowell. And if I could ask the other 2 candidates to put their mics on mute. Mr. McDowell, you have 30 seconds to respond.
The real question is, of course, infrastructure is so critical to Brampton and also critical to Canada. But we've seen what's been happening with the provincial government, especially with infrastructure and the cutting of it. We've seen massive cuts to infrastructure in Brampton from the provincial government and also from the federal government. The federal government has just been sitting back in its laurels, not putting forward the investment that Brampton needs. And the Conservative government in Ontario has been making massive, massive cuts. It was the reason why we lost the university. It's the reason why we have not been able to get light rail transit, because these services, these incredibly important infrastructure programs have been cut by the Conservatives at Queen's Park.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. And Mr. Ali, please unmute your mic and chance for rebuttal. Go ahead.
That's a very important question. As you see, the track record of Conservatives that cuts and cuts. I mean, Mr. Jagdeep was saying that they're living in a dream world. You know, but if you look at the track record, it's only cut to services, cut to funding, cut to they have never dealt with any sort of emergency that our government have dealt with. You
So I've been sitting outside and saying things that you do it, they're living in a dream world. But we actually, as a liberal, we have dealt with the real emergency situation. And we have proven record that 80%, over 80% of Canadians, they have been vaccinated. And we have enough vaccination available for Canadians to keep Canadians safe and then to keep Canada moving forward for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Ali, for that response. The supply chain and the GTA West Corridor Highway is a very important issue for the business community, and we appreciate your responses. Our next question is from Mr. Lou Valukas, and it will be posed to Jim McDowell. Go ahead, Mr. Valukas.
Thank you, Todd. Jim, Canada's Climate Action Plan implemented a price on carbon. At this time, my understanding is that all the parties represented on this stage support a price on carbon. How can policies aimed at helping the environment still offer flexibility to Brampton businesses that show leadership in working to reduce the environmental footprint?
Mr. McDowell, please proceed.
I'm on mute, sorry. This question has been in my thoughts for for a long time now. We need to make big polluters pay their fair share. Carbon pricing is just one tool in fighting against climate change. Canadians want to do their part to fight climate change, but they're also struggling with rising cost of living. The Liberals' carbon tax lets big polluters off the hook. They're paying, we're paying, they're not. Last year, Trudeau gave $2 billion in subsidies to fossil fuel companies. The Conservatives' climate plan has been written for fossil fuel industry. We need to make big polluters pay their fair share. Carbon pricing is just one tool. We've got a plan to fight the climate crisis and win. Cut emissions by more than half and make the 1.3 degree target that scientists say must be necessary to prevent the pandemic, or sorry, the collapse of the environment. But saying that all of these taxes should not be the carbon tax should not be put on the backs of working people and, of course, of small businesses. This must be put onto the big polluters and the corporations who are actually causing this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Rebuttal, Mr. Singh from the Conservative Party of Canada.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Anybody who's concerned about the climate and environment and carbon tax, I would suggest that they go read the Canada's Conservative Recovery Plan. We've got a very robust environmental plan that we're proud of. We have a serious plan to combat climate change that allows us to meet our targets and reduce emissions by 2030, all the while repealing Justin Trudeau's carbon tax, which is really put on the back of the Canadians. Independent analysis conducted by Navius Research found that the plan would effectively achieve the same emission reductions as the government's current plan in 2030, while resulting in a boost to jobs and economy. When you vote for me in Brampton Centre, Jagdeep Singh, I will make sure that all our environmental needs are put forth and our plan addresses whatever innovation is required here locally in Canada. Low carbon savings account, zero emission vehicles. These are some of the key highlights of our carbon plan.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. And rebuttal answer to this question, Mr. Ali, representing the Liberal Party of Canada.
Thank you, Todd, for the opportunity. Our plan for climate action and environment, our plan was endorsed by the Green Party here in BC. Make passenger vehicles zero emission by 2035. Brampton is a car-centric city. We can meet our goals by taking green transitions on our roads. And again, electric buses in Brampton, second city in Canada. And, conservative plans, we all know that how they have their track record, especially on the environment. So I mean, that's we have. I'm proud of our plan. It's the best plan, and it's a practical plan moving forward for cleaner air, for green tech jobs, and for the better future of Canada.
Round of questions that we've provided here today and your insightful responses. We now come to the conclusion of our debate with the closing remarks. Each candidate has 90 seconds for closing remarks, and we will begin with Mr. McDowell, then Mr. Ali, and then Mr. Singh. Mr. McDowell, your closing remarks, please.
The Board of Trade putting this on. It's been very insightful on the other two candidates, but also very insightful on what the Board of Trade and business in Brampton is needing. Friends, New Democrats are different because we are working people. For our whole history, we have fought for better working conditions and standards that lift everyone up. We know that good jobs that treat people fairly make a real difference to Canadian families, and that setting Canadians up for success in the work world or the future benefits us all. New ways of thinking can shape the recovery from the COVID-19 crisis, help make our economy fairer, and deliver the results we all want. What we have seen over the past 6 years is a Liberal Prime Minister who loves to say the right things, to promise to address the issues that matter to Canadians with no intentions of delivering them. Liberals have been promising pharmacare, childcare for decades. In May 2020, 50 months ago, Jagmeet Singh called on Trudeau to introduce paid sick leave. He said, provinces need to look at the ways to deliver sick leave directly through employers, which the federal government can't do.
Please conclude.
Mr. Trudeau.
Please conclude.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, and please make a proper choice. Do not keep on doing the exact same thing over and over again, because that is the definition of insanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Next, for closing remarks, representing the Liberal Party of Canada is Mr. Shafkat Ali. Mr. Ali, your 90 seconds, please.
Thank you, Todd, for the opportunity. I was 10 years old when my father died. I was raised by a single mom, and I went through that struggling time to get an education. When I came here, I have gone through all the phases of challenging what the newcomer goes through. I'm a successful entrepreneur, a businessman, a realtor by profession, and I have a family of 3 beautiful children, 12, 11, and 9. The Liberal Party is my party where I believe in they're against the systematic discrimination, they believe in equality, they stand up for the middle class and all the minorities. I'm proud of our platform, of our $10 a day childcare, our housing plan moving forward, and our investment in to improve our seniors' life, and finishing the fight for the COVID-19, and taking action on climate change. On the grassroots level, political person, I have a passion to serve people. I'm here to serve Brampton Center residents. I can be your strong voice and a real voice that can take your concern to House of Commons and can fight for your rights and to make a real difference in Brampton Center. So please vote for me on September 20th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali. And concluding remarks, 90 seconds from the Conservative Party of Canada, representing Brampton as a candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada, representing Brampton Centre, Mr. Jagdeep Singh. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for the time and opportunity. All we hear is talk from Trudeau Liberals. Let the numbers speak for them. Since October 15 till August 21, in all the 6 years that Trudeau Liberals have been in power, housing has gone up from an average price of $492,000 to over $1 million. That's a 215% increase, or an increase on an annual basis of 36%. Peel quarterly overall average unemployment rate was up 11.9% from 6%. Liberals have called COVID a window of political opportunity. Pandemic failure is Trudeau's biggest scandal, according to Financial Post. This election will be a choice between a comprehensive conservative plan to deliver all Canadians jobs and restore public finances versus a reckless liberal plan supported by NDP that would leave Canada with high levels of debt and unemployment. Canadians simply cannot afford to trust a reckless coalition of Liberals and NDP who want unaffordable spending commitments that would leave us with unsustainable levels of debt and unemployment. When you vote for me, Jagdeep Singh, I will ensure that Brampton remains a focus, and I will work relentlessly on jobs, wages, and getting our economy and finances back on track as quickly as possible. A vote for any other party is simply a vote for Justin Trudeau. We simply cannot afford more of the same, not in Canada, not in Brampton, and definitely not in Brampton Centre. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Singh, and thank you to all of our candidates today. We had good discussion with Mr. Shafkat Ali, representing the Liberal Party of Canada and Brampton Centre, Mr. James McDowell, representing the New Democratic Party of Canada, and Mr. Jagdeep Singh, representing the Conservative Party of Canada. I want to say thank you also to our business panelists, Michelle McCollum, Chair of the Brampton Board of Trade, and Representative of Sheridan College, and Director of our board, Mr. Lou Valukas. Thank you so much for being our panelist here today. Lou is with Lawrence's LLP, and a director on the Brampton Board of Trade. I also want to thank Steve Stevens of RioCan for our video question in today as well. Thank you, viewers, for joining us. And again, to the candidates that were with us here today, thank you for stepping up. Thank you for letting your name stand for your parties as a candidate in this election. And to our viewers and members, please, no matter who you support, ensure that you get out and vote. Election day is Monday, September 20th, and advanced polls are available this coming Friday to Monday, September 10th through 13th. Please visit elections.ca to find your polling location. I'm really looking forward to our next session, ladies and gentlemen. Please join us for the debate for Brampton East, which will begin at 9:30 this morning. Thank you all. We'll see you again at a Brampton Board of Trade event.